Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Hello.
Hello there.
So let's start out with, I know you've got a list of where you want to start. I'm going to start with the Pirates. And again, if I am Bob Nutting the owner, I'm spending more money. But if I'm Bob Nutting the owner, there is a staff meeting that is mandatory this morning at whatever number you want to, whatever time you want to pick. It's two things in 1 week now, where the elements that you can control, you fouled up.
And what is that you are referring, sir?
We've started with the Clemente thing.
Yeah, we discussed that
which is an obvious. We've already talked about that. The second part is there is an area of bricks where, you see this outside Beaver Stadium now. They have a brick out there with your name on it. Kyle Go Orange. It's
crazy things.
Which, for some reason, that's where the state trooper horses go.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the Bucko bricks, if I remember correctly.
This brings with it a simple solution. They tore up the area, and they took the bricks, and they're throwing them out. Except they haven't told anybody they're tearing up the area and throwing the bricks out. When you do anything, I apply this to broadcasting, I apply this to sports franchises, I apply this to every walk of life. Take care of the little things, and the big things take care of themselves. You don't go from A to Z without taking care of the other 24 letters in the middle. Jerry, don't get confused. There's 26 in the alphabet. I worry about Jerry.
I know.
And so what they've done is, how much time would it take, because it's your job to do it, to get the names, addresses, and email addresses of every single person that donated a brick there? We're ahead of time. Just so you know, we're going to be, because of wear, weather, plows, everything, shoveling, we're having to, they get worn down over time. We're going to replace the bricks. Number one, do you still want a brick with your name there, which we will provide for you because you've already paid for it? And B, for a fee, would you like, a nominal fee?
Yeah.
For $20, whatever, right? To help with the project, would you like to have your original brick sent back to you?
Easy.
Right? Again, that's goodwill. Oh, you mean I get to keep my original brick? I mean, I just have to pay a little bit to have it sent back to me? Oh, okay.
Sure.
Hey, some people go, nah, don't worry about it. I just want the new brick.
But some would say, you know what, that's really cool. I can get a brick that was outside. The brick that I have walked over that has my name on it, I can get from the Pittsburgh Pirates back to me and also get the new one put in. In the case, I believe it's the third iteration or going to be fourth iteration. And they apparently want to put a wall up with the names on it instead to prevent the weathering and destruction issues that happen just over time, naturally, which makes sense. But you're spot on. They should have contacted the fans, said, hey, in
and some
a
of them
month's time.
And by the way, some of them may be difficult to contact. They may have moved something, but probably they paid with a credit card, right? Which means there's at least something on file dealing with them.
You also, my presumption would also be, if they are a Pittsburgh Pirates fan and they have some form of brick outside, they're probably quite large fans of the Pirates. Is that a fair assumption, would you say, to make? Or they have family who are large fans?
Right.
And as someone who is a fan of certain sports teams, we get emails about these different things. So I presume a lot of them might be on a general Pirates mail list. Right. So you could put out in your general letter going out on the Monday or the Sunday saying, hi, in 1 month's time, we're doing this thing. We have contacted all the fans that we have contact information for. If you are one who has not been contacted yet, but you have a brick, please contact us at insert email here. And then let us know how you'd like to proceed. Put it up on the Pirates website page as well, on their social media. Put it out everywhere. Do everything you can. Put it outside the stadium. Put a sign up saying, do you have a Bucko brick? Whatever. Like, do it over time. And give, as you said, communication and general notice to people saying, this is what we're doing.
That's all you have to do. Okay? Well, that sounds simple. Again, the ability to take care of the little things. Those bricks were put in 1999. There are 10,000 of them. 10,000 of them. Mark Robinson said, he says, we bought those bricks. That's my brick. I mean, my daughter's name is literally on the brick. It's mine, and they just got rid of it. It's awful. There are 10,000 of them been sitting there for more than 25 years.
It is older than I am.
Right.
That's a fact.
Well, according to the Pirates, this is the third iteration of the bricks. They've been replaced before as they break down due to weather and foot traffic. That's fair. The team said it's aware of the brick's sentimental meaning. They plan on developing a new display for the messages and names. Well, nothing is set in stone yet, pun. The Pirates said they want to do something like the walls behind Bill Mazeroski's statue. A more vertical display that would prevent the challenges that come when you engrave on the sidewalk. Okay.
Which, again, makes sense because it means there's less of a worry and challenge of having to replace them every so often. There's less of an issue of that. And also it means you can permanently see your name and not have it worn out over time. And they also could make it big enough they could add to it if they wanted to. So, like, makes sense. But again, would have been cool to find out about this before you do things.
Right. So, I mean, this is the first time I've read the story. So, I mean, I already commented on what I thought I would do. But
exactly.
Fans are mad the situation was treated with the transparency of a brick and not having the chance to get their memories before they got crushed. For a lot of folks, they've literally moved people's memorials to their deceased family members. That's terrible, Robinson said. The team hopes to unveil their new design later this season. Look, but again, why isn't somebody sits down in a meeting with people and says to them, okay, so what are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to throw them out. Oh, no. Are we going to? We need to contact all the people about what we're doing. And I don't care if it's 10,000 emails. Well, you want to sell a whole bunch of them. Well, you sold 10,000 of them. Well, that's great. Guess what? The 10,000 helped. All right? I don't care how monumental a task it is. That's why you have a staff. You go through and you contact as many people as possible ahead of time saying, this is what we're planning on doing. We are not going to throw your brick out if you want it. If you designate that you want your brick thrown out, then we'll throw it out.
Yeah.
Right? But we're going to do
these changes.
We're going to make these changes. This is what we're considering. We haven't made a final decision yet. But when we do, your name will still be a part of it because you paid.
It's really not tough.
Don't throw it out and then tell them they have to pay again. They already paid.
Yeah.
They already paid. They were told when they bought it, right? There's no expiration date on it. Your brick is good until 2028. I mean, I bought a brick outside Beaver Stadium.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it was like, all it said was beware of Jerry. I mean, but I mean,
I step on it every time I see it. I step on it, I smush a little banana peel in there, and I move about my business.
And imagine what the horse does.
Oh.
All right.
Speaking of communication.
What? It's a big animal, just steps there.
Speaking of communication and things happening.
But again,
yes.
Okay, but this is how you end up being perceived. It's not just perception. The problem with the Pirates right now is that it's becoming reality, that they're a Bush League organization. That's the problem they have. It isn't that perception is reality. The problem is by what's happened in the last week between the composition of the ball club, the Clemente situation in right field, and the bricks, okay, it's not perception. They are acting like a Bush League organization. And that's the last thing you want when you're a professional group.
It is.
In anything.
Anything.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want people in this building perceived as a Bush League organization of radio. Your insurance company doesn't want to be considered to be Bush League among insurance companies. You want to be known as like the pros, the best, whatever, going all out. Again, the people that are making these decisions have zero to do with the product on the field, but they have complete control over how the product is perceived off the field.
That they do. And so they have a communication issue, and it looks like the Denver Nuggets had a communication issue as yesterday afternoon around 1 o'clock, the Denver Nuggets announced they had fired head coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth.
Right.
Just 5 days before the end of the regular season. They had, I believe, 4 games to go. And this comes after there has been a lot of discussion that apparently over the past few seasons, since the championship essentially, there's been a lot of tension. It has been known by many between Calvin Booth, Michael Malone, a lot of staff members all around the building. It has basically become a divided workplace. And the Cronkies and their sports group decided, instead of getting rid of one, let's get rid of both. The new acting manager is going to be David Adelman, the lead assistant for the Nuggets. He's going to take over for the remainder of the season. And this comes as the Nuggets have lost 4 straight games. They're 47-32. There also is a chance of them falling into the play-in race because of the tiebreaker craziness that is going on in the Western Conference right now. But the short of it, Michael Malone, Calvin Booth out in Denver. And this is now the second head coach who has been fired in the last 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes. But it's also the 4th NBA championship coach. 4 of the last 6 championship NBA coaches have been fired.
Yes.
Right?
May I ask?
Budenholzer, Vogel, Nurse, and now Michael Malone.
But in the case of Malone and Taylor Jenkins with the Grizzlies, Jenkins, people thought would be let go last year. He then got let go in the middle of the season. They felt it had run its course. We'll get rid of him now. In the case of Malone, you have 4 games left. You are sitting here 1 week from the playoffs. You are a title contender. You have all these things going for you. If you know you're going to let go of him, why wouldn't you, in this case with Malone, just wait for the offseason? If you know you're not going to win in the playoffs, and that's clearly how they've felt about it, why wouldn't you just get to the playoffs, lose, and then get rid of it? But now all of a sudden you have a 1 week circus going around where everyone's like, what's happening? What's going on? Why did this happen? I have a friend who works in Denver, and he was like, yeah, all of the newscasts led with this because it was gigantic news.
Sure it is, because, look, they've been the championship team.
They have the best player in the world.
Right. They have one of the 5 best players in the world playing for them. Now, let's start with Calvin. Okay? Calvin has worked his way through the ranks to get himself to be a general manager. In the championship year, he made all the right moves. Now, as time has gone, when you have a championship team, you have to make decisions on who you keep and who you transition. They're right now in 4th place in the West. They have not played well down the stretch. The rift, they were working on an extension about 2 months ago with Calvin. Not with Michael Malone, but with Calvin. They were working on an extension. And then they broke the talks off. I'm talking about the team was like, oh, and it's kind of. So Cal probably had an idea like, okay, something's not right here. Because they were working on one. Calvin was having a problem with Michael Malone, and Michael Malone was having a problem with Calvin. Why? It was over the usage of young players. Malone wanted to keep playing the older players.
He wanted Bruce Brown. He wanted Jeff Green, Caldwell Pope.
Right.
Players they weren't able to retain due to monetary reasons.
And Russell Westbrook. Okay. Calvin wants some of the younger players to play. Among them, Jalen Pickett. Well, Pickett, of course, would replace Russell Westbrook. Pickett goes out last week. I know it was a loss, but he had a triple-double.
First 2 starts, second start, triple-double.
Yeah. So validating how Calvin felt about him because he was the 32nd overall pick in the draft and the Nuggets' second-round pick a couple of years ago. And that became a real issue between the two about who was playing out there. For the Cronkies, this is a dramatic move. Look, the NBA is the ultimate in-house network. It's the ultimate in-house network. Michael Malone will have a job next year.
Yes.
Calvin Booth will have a job next year. They make sure in no uncertain terms that in one form or another, okay, the NBA, if you're in the loop, you are in the loop. It just means you're not in that city anymore.
Yes. And for those wondering at home, saying, where have I heard the name the Cronkies before? They are a sports ownership group, Kroenke Sports Entertainment. Stan Kroenke is the owner. The one who runs everything is Josh Kroenke, his son.
He runs the Denver operation.
The Denver operation, and he also oversees a lot of things when it comes to the other sports team they have with Arsenal, who we'll get to later in the show.
Right.
My sports team, and as someone who's
like, this is what the Kroenke. This is what the Kroenkes own. He's real estate, the whole thing. So he owns Arsenal. He owns the Los Angeles Rams.
Yes.
Right, that sports complex down there that he put together. It's actually a campus because NFL Network's there. NFL.com is there at Hollywood Park. Okay.
Yeah.
Denver, they own the Nuggets, they own the Avalanche, and they own the Colorado Rapids of MLS.
And they have
that's where Josh Kroenke comes in. He's got more of the Denver properties that he looks after.
It seems like the Colorado Mammoth in the lacrosse, National Lacrosse League, and Arsenal Women's Football Club as well. Those are all the teams they have. So it's Denver, LA.
And this is not a money issue because remember, Kroenke is worth like billions and billions. And by the way, he's married to Ann Walton from the Walmart empire, and she's worth about $7 or $8 billion. So money is not an issue here. So they're now. What's interesting about Jokic, Malone's the only coach he's ever played for in the NBA.
10 years.
Look, let's simplify this. The key player is no question Jokic. The pivotal player. And I said this when they won the title, 3 years ago?
They won the title 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Back in 2022.
I said this 3 years ago. Okay. The pivotal player is Jamal Murray. What kind of record did the Nuggets have in 21-22 when Jamal Murray missed most of the season? Mediocre. It was good, not great. And I think they lost in the second round of the playoffs. Or something like that.
I'm trying to pull up stats and we can run through this real quick.
Okay.
The Denver Nuggets back in
21-22
lost in the Western Conference first round.
Okay, first round.
They were 48-34 that season.
Right, and then Murray came back. Right, because they'd been good in 20 and 21.
In 2020-21 Western Conference semifinals, they lost.
Right.
They had come back, I believe, in the 7 games.
Right. With Murray playing. Murray then gets hurt early in the season, misses the entire season. Now they're 14 over 500. He comes back in 22-23. They win the title. What's happened the last 2 weeks with Denver? Jamal Murray's been hurt.
They've gone 5-9 their last 14 games. Murray has missed the last, I think, 6 or 7.
Right. He's missed the last 6 or 7 games, and I think they have a 5-game losing streak.
They have a 4-game losing streak, and Malone came out earlier this week or late last week, and they asked the question of Jamal Murray's health, and he kind of he said something along the lines of, we're hoping to have him back for the first round. Right. But he said it in a way that all of the reporters in Denver freaked out and were like, how he worded it was more of a, maybe he won't be back in time for the playoffs. And that's when everyone was like, whoa.
Right. Because, look,
very different.
There's no question who the best player is.
Yes.
Right? But who is the player that then takes the best player and puts the organization over the top? It's been Jamal Murray.
Yes.
And it's just been proven out just by the record. When he's there, they're better. When he's not, they're good. And so when he's there, they're great. When he's not there, they're good. In other words, they're 14 over 500 without him in the one season. You know, you're not a bad team. You're good. There's only so much one guy can do, all right? Well, we do have a management position here where we had 2 other guys who'd be better. All right, but that's just a what?
But
you see what I'm saying?
I agree.
There's certain guys along the way that you refer to the opaque phrase of the X factor, Right? It's the X factor is not. It's like the wind. You can't see it, but you can feel it. Okay, you can't really put when Penn State. Let's give you a basketball example. Okay, when Penn State made the Sweet 16 in 2001, Joe Crispin got a lot of justified publicity. John Crispin got a lot of justified publicity. The X factor in the entire team was Titus Ivory. And if you pull Joe aside today and just bring Titus Ivory's name up, you go, the ultimate, he says you win every game. And I said to Joe at one point this season, when they were going through the tough streak, I said, Joe, how bad does this team need a Titus Ivory? He goes, in the worst way. Hits some shots, makes the pass, plays some defense for you. Is he the best defender in the team? Maybe not, but he's probably second. Is he the best shooter in the team? Probably not. Joe would be. He'd be the second best. Best rebounder of the team? Probably not, but he's probably the second best. Right? We're just and it has the universal respect of everybody. Now, I don't know if Murray has the universal respect of everybody. I'm not around the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's everything you're saying is from 30,000 feet. But that's the kind of player Ivory was. When Ivory was in the lineup, Penn State was an exponentially better team. They're playing Providence in the 2001 opening round. Providence has a great, not a good, but a great defensive guard in John Linehan. Averaged about 3 to 4 steals a game. I mean, really good. Like, everybody's like, they're going to put him on Joe Crispin, the whole thing. Well, I mean, Crispin's not even going to get the ball over half court. Heard that over and over again leading in. Jerry Dunn, I remember he looked at me, he says, what do you think? I said, you won the game by 10, don't worry about it. They won the game by 10. Sorry. Sometimes you get one right.
Yeah.
Right?
Because shame.
Right. But what did Penn State do? This is to Jerry's credit. Because the guy that's the second best in everything on the team is also the second best ball handler. Titus Ivory brought the ball up the court, and Joe was just able to run down and run around, and Tim Welsh never took Linehan off him. See, when you have that kind of player that just has the ability to make the parts better, Murray makes the parts better in Denver. And it's been proven just by the fact is what is their record when he doesn't play versus what his record is when he does play. And down this stretch when Denver has been struggling, guess what? He has not been playing. Right? And that's a big loss for them. The biggest, Jokic is the best player.
But number two,
right? But Murray is the kind of guy that when he's out there, suddenly all the parts and the results get better. So that's been the issue. What they're going to do with this, it's going to be up to them as to what they do with it. Calvin will be fine. He developed a great reputation in Minnesota for a long period of time, working there before he went to Denver, and he was working with Tim Conley. And then when Conley took the Bulls job, he is
the Wolves job. Connolly's with the Wolves.
Conley took the Wolves job. Somebody else took the Bulls job. There was the Bulls are involved in here somewhere. But he took
Bulls GM is Mark Eversley.
Okay,
I believe.
So he takes that job. He's out. Okay, and Calvin ascends. Look, there'll be other people within the NBA that will hire him because he has not been sitting there as an executive for 3 years. He's been sitting as an executive in this thing for 15 years, scout before that. He's been in this a long time. So he'll find a spot. It's just unsettling for him to sit there today and go, okay, what do we do now? Because 3 months ago, he wasn't thinking about what are we going to do now. He was thinking about a contract extension and he and his family living in the Denver suburbs and him trying to construct a team. He was here scouting a game. Which game was it? It may have been the Maryland game. I think it was he was here for the Maryland game, scouting the game. And that's what he's been doing because he's always been hands-on. He wants to get out there and see it for himself because that's the old scout in him coming out. Same thing with Malone. Malone will be fine. He will find a spot somewhere within the NBA with the idea of maybe being an assistant coach someplace and then some organization sitting there saying, you know what? He won an NBA championship. Let's hire him.
You know who
and of course, he's Brendan Malone's son. So.
Yeah. You know who the hot rumor on the street is? The immediate reaction to it is, do you know what organization he has a lot of connections with? His father, of course, Brendan Malone, you mentioned, was an assistant with the team. Michael Malone himself was an assistant with the team at one point. He is, I believe, from the area and has a lot of connections with them, and they might have a new head coach opening come May. You want to give me a guess as to who you believe it is?
No.
It is the New York Knicks.
I thought you were going to say that, but I thought Tibbs was the deal.
Tibbs is the deal, but the thought would be, we've, of course, had all the discussion. Mikal Bridges came out and discussed the minutes thing and brought that up against Tibbs. And
Tibbs.
The next night,
Tibbs.
put a game-winning shot in.
Tibbs. Not getting it done.
Bridges.
Not getting it done.
Well, the rumor is if Tibbs and the Knicks, let's say, don't go past the second round, because as things stand, they will have the Celtics. And as we saw last night, they lost to the Celtics. The thinking is, if they don't win in the second round, they don't go past the Celtics, all of a sudden you're like, maybe Tibbs isn't the guy. And look who's not available. A coach who's won an NBA championship.
Look.
And so he understands how to win. Could he get the best out of Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby? We think so. Michael Malone, how are you doing? So,
okay.
There's a lot of thoughts, a lot of questions out there in general, but the big one here is Malone and Booth fired with 4 games to go in the season in the Western Conference, which is stacked. We're at this point. Lakers have 48 wins. Clippers, Denver, Golden State, and Memphis have 47. And then Minnesota has 46 after they blew a 24-point lead in the fourth quarter last night to the Bucks. But all these teams are sitting here 3-8 in any order. It could happen and fall in the next 3 games of the season. So we are sitting here with a lot of questions, not a lot of answers. And the Nuggets now with David Adelman leading the charge going into the last few games of the season. And when the Nuggets play next will be tonight, I believe, against the Kings, 10 o'clock on ESPN. But that is not the main game going on tonight, Steve. Do you know what other game is being played tonight? Perchance.
The only thing I know is I have to do the Giants podcast tonight at 8:05. After that, I'm not really paying attention to it.
Around the same time down in Dallas, Texas, the Lakers.
Are the Cowboys playing?
Cowboys are not playing. The Lakers are playing the Mavericks, though.
Are the Dallas Stars playing?
No, but it is Luka
Doncic's. How about the Texas Rangers?
It's Luka Doncic's return to Dallas, and it's going to be a weird crowd. Normally in the past, when we've seen players return, as we saw with LeBron, back when he left the Cavaliers, Miami, and came back and got booed, normally that's kind of how it goes. If you leave a franchise in a sudden manner. He didn't leave them. The ownership group chucked him out. And so everyone's kind of like, this is going to be the Mavericks cheering for Luka to get 80 points in the game. They're going to want him to put up 80 points and laugh at Nico Harrison while he does it. Apparently, he's going to be introduced last amongst the Laker players. And there's going to be jerseys and shirts given out that are written out saying thank you, Luka, in Slovenian, his native language. And it's going to be a weird energy. 3 games to go. Mavericks kind of sitting there in that 10 slot in the Western Conference playoff picture. And at the same time, can you get more awkward than that? Because the organization is the one who booted him out, but they're going to do all the things to welcome him back.
Well, we were in Los Angeles pretty close after the trade. His first game in Los Angeles. A couple of guys in the basketball group, because we had time to kill. Okay, went to the game. I think it was a Monday night.
Something like that.
Pat Flannery and a few of the grad assistants went to see because they had connections. And they went to see Luka's first game. I think it was against Utah. Because the connections were actually with Utah. Okay? Just like Girardi looked at me and he says, it's too bad the Super Bowl's and it's SoFi. And I said, well, I know a guy. He goes, what? I said, I know a guy we could get in. He goes, because the Super Bowl's there in 2 years. We're scheduled to go back.
Interesting.
Right? Well, it has to be the right weekend. But they knew a guy.
Yeah.
right? A guy that worked for the Celtics, the Jazz, and now is working with the Nittany Lion Club. Great guy. And so they went and they saw him play, and it was kind of a carnival festival and the whole thing, and their seats were right there behind the Jazz bench. They're right there courtside watching him play. This is one of those trades where it is mystifying to me. I mean, I realize that you can run into an impasse with a player, but it always baffled me. Why do the Milwaukee Bucks trade Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to the Lakers? Mm-hmm. Right? And I know they got 4 guys out, and we just talked about Junior Bridgman, who just passed away, and Bridgman is the ultimate of what athletes should be thinking about financially in life, right? I mean, Bridgman was the ultimate.
Yeah.
But he was a part of that trade. And did they get good players out of it? Bridgman played 10 years for the Bucks. Dave Myers was a good player for them. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the kind of guy that delivers a championship for you. And they dealt him to Los Angeles. Right? And it was always mystifying. Right? Why did the Edmonton Oilers trade Wayne Gretzky to Los Angeles? I mean, I've already seen the 30 for 30, and they're talking about Peter Pocklington and what he's trying to do up in Edmonton and the whole thing. Now, did they win a Stanley Cup after he left? Yes, because of Mark Messier and those guys. They actually won the Stanley Cup. But I'm always mystified by this stuff. I don't understand why you sit down there in an office in Dallas and you just went to the NBA final a year ago.
Literally a year ago.
Right.
Went there.
And he, and to the credit Kyrie Irving had played with, and I know he's hurt now. Right. But I don't understand what the thought process is behind some of these things. I don't get it. I mean, the Mavericks' problem before Luka got traded was, for example, Derek Lively got hurt. Well, Lively makes Luka Doncic's life so much easier because he's taking care of all the dirty work in the post, and he's the guy that's blocking shots, and kind of gives Luka the freedom to go around and not have to be the post center on the team. Okay? And that was a problem because now the guy replacing Derek is not, isn't the same kind of player. I don't understand this stuff. I don't understand what the thought process is in a front office. Just like the Pirates have always baffled me. We've talked about the Pirates start. You're not going to do what you can to keep Paul Skeens? You didn't do what you could have done to keep Garrett Cole? Really?
And
right in the prime of their careers. Like these kind of personnel decisions, if you're having money trouble, okay, now I can at least understand, you probably shouldn't be in ownership to begin with at a professional sports team these days if you are. But if you're having money trouble or whatever it happens to be, okay, I get that part. Like what are the A's going to be able to do until they get to Las Vegas? I mean, their money flow is going to be dramatically reduced in the next 3 years, starting this season. So I understand that part. And not everybody has Josh Harris as their owner. Like the Commanders do, the Devils do, and the Sixers do. I'll get back to you on the third one. Right? I mean, the people that, like Kroenke, we just talked about Denver. Kroenke has tons of money. And I realize Mark Cuban, reduced
and they got
his role
sold
in
to
this.
Miriam Adelson, one of the richest human beings in the world.
Right. And I don't understand what the thought process is behind this.
And
you can't be – I don't want the general manager to act like he's the smartest person in the world. I want the general manager to look at the landscape and sometimes do nothing because he is the smartest person in the world.
And we had talked about it when the trade had happened, and their justification was all the things going on in terms of his defensive abilities and the fact that he wouldn't try on defense, he wouldn't get back enough.
That makes him an average NBA player.
And they were like, oh, but he comes in overweight, he does all these things. And it was like, okay, they're going through all this list of all of these items they'd apparently had gripes with forever. The problem I have with it is, they at the trade deadline last year, they had only so many resources, and they decided to go all in on Luka and traded for Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, and all these players And what happens? They go to the finals.
Yeah.
And then not 6 months later, they turn around and say, you know what? We're done. And so they had gotten rid of all their resources, got out of the business of it, and did not try to maximize Luka. You have a generational talent. There are only so many of them in every sport at any given moment. Like, I know. You have the, 25-year-old superstar who is going to be here for a decade. I know. And you are going to have him, and you know he wants to stay there. He loves Dallas. Dallas loves him. Through thick and thin, he just brought you to the finals. You've been to the conference finals before. Like, you've done really well, and dude is 25. He's only getting better.
I mean, it's not like he's over the hill like Jerry Valeri. Yeah. I mean, so it's
and you have Kyrie. You've got Derek Lively is now in his second season. Yeah. He's hurt, but he's getting better. Like, you have all of these positives, and you decide to blow it up and take on a 31-year-old who has injuries, by the way. Yeah. Anthony Davis has injury issues, and you're like, him. And you get 1 first-round pick for it. When you could have, and apparently they had zeroed in on Anthony Davis as the guy they wanted. At the same time, I guarantee you, if you call multiple teams around the league and say, we want Giannis, we want Devin Booker, we want insert player here, you could raise the price to where the generational talent is. Because if the Pirates are like, you know what, we're going to trade Paul Skeens, and they're going to call one team. Let's say they call the Diamondbacks. And we're going to trade Paul Skeens. We want a vending machine. And the Diamondbacks are like, you've talked to anyone else about this? Like, no. Cool, we'll take them. Instead, they could call every other baseball team and shop them around, and all of a sudden have the entire city of New York, and also somehow get a 20% ownership stake in the Islanders for whatever reason, and also, like, I don't know, own the rights to the name Gotham. But for some reason, Nico Harrison said, no, let's not do that. Let's just go and talk to my friend, Rob Pelinka, and just go and get Anthony Davis. And then it still makes no sense. And all of Dallas loves Luka, and he's going to come back in, and it's going to be this really awkward scene where the Dallas general managers and owners and all of them, it's going to be real awkward, Steve. Like, I could not make a more awkward situation than what's going to happen tonight, because they're going to be embarrassed because he's going to come in there. Their entire crowd is going to cheer for Luka, not for the Mavericks, not for the Lakers, for Luka. He's going to put up 70, and they're going to win that game. And it's going to be real bad.
I don't care what his issues are as to what he eats off the court, drinks off the court. It doesn't matter to me. Unless it now starts, like, instead of averaging 25 a game, suddenly you're averaging 17. Now we have the conversation where we say, hey, look, you know what? You need to be in better shape. I'm watching the games, whatever. If it's not the issue, you don't talk to him about it. There's no need. Okay? Not playing a lot of defense? Excuse me. He now fits the mode of what people perceive as the typical NBA player. Right? And I don't want to hear all the NBA, they play, really? Really? You want to see tapes of what defense looks like?
Yeah.
Right?
By the way, he was averaging only 28 points a game, by the way, if you were wondering. Only 28 points a game with the Mavericks before he got traded.
Right.
Only 28.
Right. You've already 2 years ago ticked off your crowd because when you had a chance to get into the playoffs, albeit in the playing game at 10, you sat your entire team,
including Luka,
right,
on Slovenian night,
right, and played your G League team, right, and your fans are sitting there like going, well, wait a minute, and every single fan that wanted to go to the game, and most of them to see him play, right, you're like, okay, it's and you've already done that. That's just 2 years ago. Because it was better off for us to get a higher draft pick. Now the higher draft pick turned into Derek Lively,
which was the perfect player to put with Luka,
right?
Who then they went all in on 6 months later and traded for PJ Washington, who turned out to be a great addition.
Right.
You know, Gafford was a great rotational
They're all
piece
really
alongside him.
Important parts in their roles.
Went all in.
Right. I mean, look, the Pirates had Garrett Cole. Now they did reach an agreement with Cole on a 1-year deal worth about $6.5–7 million, somewhere in there, for the 2018 season. And then a month after they signed him, they traded him to Houston. And you're saying, like, okay, what'd they get? Well, they got Joe Musgrove. He's a good major league pitcher. Michael Feliz, right? All right, reliever. Colin Moran, who would be one of those guys who'd been a high draft pick that had never panned out. And Jason Martin. You can't sit there and you can't put a bow on that. Right? It doesn't matter. Like, Musgrove did some good things for them, but he's not Garrett Cole. And it's not fair to Joe Musgrove. He's not expected to be Garrett Cole. He's expected to be Joe Musgrove. Good, solid major league pitcher, and you can see what he's done with the Padres over time, pitching in the postseason for them. He's been good, the whole deal. I think he threw their first ever no-hitter in San Diego. But it's the message you send to your fans that you sit back and go, as a group, they're your team, so you sit there and you use the word we. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand what we are doing here. Right? And this happens more often than not in organizations that spin their wheels. And it's not as if Dallas has not won a championship. With Dirk Nowitzki, they won the 2011 title. Right? And then they got to the final last year with this group. So the idea for your fans buying season tickets is, we're going to make another run this year. And I think this year we can get over the top. And instead of acquiring pieces, now again, the trade for Doncic was made before Kyrie Irving got hurt. Right? Before he got hurt, they made this deal. Now, Lively was already hurt.
Lively was hurt. Gafford was hurt.
Right.
And then they make the trade.
Right.
AD then goes down, and 2 games later, Kyrie goes down.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, PJ Washington, like, they just all fell at the same time.
And part of what you do as an organization, you cannot have your fans be mad at you, and especially you can't have them be apathetic. They're going to show up tonight, and guess what? They're going to show their apathy because they're going to cheer for the guy in the opposing team and not for you.
And you brought up a name, and this is what I think, as a sports fan and as someone who covers sports, you understand as well as I do. In 2018-19, that was Dirk Nowitzki's last season.
Yes.
Dirk had played his entire career in Dallas. Every single one of them. He's a beloved figure in Dallas. They love him. All-time level player. Hall of Famer for the NBA. Like, perfect. And then what happens in 18-19? They draft Luka Doncic. And there's a 1-year crossover of Luka and Dirk. And every Dallas fan says to themselves, oh my gosh, we are losing our legend, but we just got our next guy who wants to stay here, who's from Europe, who wants to stay here for the next 20 years. And that's what Luka's said and done. Every step of the way, he was like, I want to be here. There was multiple rumors of he's going to ask out, and he was like, no, I'm not asking out. I love Dallas. I would never do that. And then he resigns a contract. Keeps doing it. Doesn't do what Giannis does, and Giannis trying to talk and say, like, oh, maybe I'll ask out. Luka never did that. They get their guy, and then at 25 years old, they decide, let's blow this up. Let's take our superstar who is going to be here for 20 years, carry the franchise, who we don't have to worry about. Because every team wants a superstar. You think the Wizards want one? Yeah. Do you think that the Suns want Devin Booker for all time? Yeah, they do. Like, you want your superstar. And they have theirs, who is an internationally loved person, who's one of the most beloved figures and characters in basketball. Yeah, he's got his problems. Dude brought you to the championship game. And he gotcha within a couple games of winning the world championship.
I know.
The NBA Finals. And you're like, let's get rid of him. For reasons we still don't know.
No, it's that, again, I don't understand the thought process of organizations. And it's not as if, okay, there's certain things that are common sense. There's no common sense to what they did.
There's none.
Okay? There's no common sense to what they did. And again, you can't keep mystifying your fans. You have to give your fans hope. Where's the hope in that trade?
No idea.
There's no hope in that deal. You know, I mean, sometimes hope comes in the form of a draft. Okay? Sometimes hope comes in the form of a draft. Okay, you're a Bears fan. It's been bad. You draft Caleb Williams. Now, do you expect he's going to have a good rookie season and they're going to get to the playoffs? No. But at least you feel like you've got your quarterback for the future. That's a start on hope, especially when you're trying to build a new stadium.
Something to believe in. Okay? Something to rally behind.
You can't do something that mystifies people. Right? And you sit there, you're sitting in Dallas, and you're confused. Like, do you want to confuse your consumer, your fan base? Right? Because the player you gave up is exactly the kind of player everybody's aching to have. And you have him. You traded him away. You didn't give him away, but you traded him away for an aging talent, albeit certainly a terrific talent, but
aging with injury issues.
Okay, aging with injury is a bad combination. And when you did the thing 2 years ago where you decided not to make the playoffs, and on Slovenia night you decide to bench everybody and play your G League team, you put that in your rearview mirror by making the finals last year. Okay? There are certain people that you build around. Okay, Kyrie Irving, by the way, is not one of them. Okay, Kyrie Irving is a piece that you build around Luka.
And that's what he was acquired for.
Okay, you've got the piece people want to build around. Denver has the piece they want to build around. Right? And sometimes you do have to make tough decisions, and sometimes the best decision is no decision. Right? Do you break up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? How often did we hear that for a couple of years, that maybe it's time to break them up? What did Brad Stevens do? He did nothing. He did nothing because he's around it every day, and he felt that those two work together fine. I need to change up the other similar parts. So he took Malcolm Brogdon, right? Very similar player to Tatum and Brown. Dealt him to Portland, got Drew Holiday. This is after he traded his point guard. Now he's going to be the point guard. Well, why is he going to be the point guard? Because he traded Marcus Smart to Memphis and ended up with Kristaps Porzingis, a completely different player than the other guys on the floor. Smart, Brogdon, Tatum, White, and Brown are all the same kind of player, essentially, as to how they play. Well, guess what? Porzingis isn't similar to any of them, okay? Not similar to any of them. Drew Holiday, especially, is not really similar to Marcus Smart, even though they're both really good defenders, but they're different kinds of players, right? And so you got them. Brogdon, same story. Brogdon's not a part of it, but you still have White, Brown, okay? And with Brogdon, you got Holiday. Smart. They changed the dynamic of the team on the floor and made decisions on Brown and Tatum in particular. We'll build around them. We're just going to put different types of pieces around them. We're going to reacquire Al Horford because he's a perfect complement off the bench for Porzingis. Then, of course, Porzingis got hurt, and then Horford had to play more. Right? We're going to keep a guy like Pritchard because as a situational player, he's a great situational player. And then Derek White is just a really good player at both ends of the floor. So they got rid of two similar pieces to change the look on the floor to go with their primary guys. They didn't trade Tatum or Brown. They traded Marcus Smart. Okay? They didn't trade Tatum or Brown. They traded Malcolm Brogdon. And they built around them. And guess what? They have hardware. And guess who's had the best record in the last 2 months in the NBA? They may not be the number one seed in the East right now, but who's had the best record in the league the last 2 months?
Celtics.
The Boston Celtics have. All right? And again, we're talking about building. Like, I understand, for example, why the Knicks made their deal with the T-Wolves. I understand that. All right, you know what? We're kind of getting only so far. Let's see if we can change up Randall and bring in Karl Anthony Towns, give us a little different look out there as to how we're playing it. I completely get it. And the Knicks are a very good team. The problem is that there are some teams in the league that are great teams. They can't get over the great teams. in another era, right, they might be able to get over the top with certain teams. Mm-hmm. But right now, their problem is Cleveland, to its credit's really good. Boston, to its credit's really good. Golden State has now made a comeback.
The Thunder are.
Right? The Thunder are a tremendous basketball team. And the Knicks are very good. Now, you guys want to fire the coach because, I mean, it's always, let's do the simple thing. Yeah. But they made that trade. Like, for example, give them credit. They made the acquisition of Brunson when nobody else really was like, you really want to pay money for him? And it turned out they got it right.
And what have they done?
They got it right.
They got it right, and they have built the Knicks team around Brunson.
Right.
Cat is there to complement him because he's an outside shooting.
But Julius Randle was a complementary piece they knew, so they changed the complementary piece because they felt like he could bring a couple of elements to the table that Randle didn't.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what you're thinking about. You don't do this where your fans sit back and go, well, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. I don't understand what we're doing here. Right? Fans may not intel and draft prospects. Jalen Milroe. Mark down, don't care. Fans obviously are not on the inside. Mm-hmm. So they don't know everything that's going on in an organization, nor does the organization want to tell them.
Yeah.
Okay. But there are certain things to fans that are obvious. Mm-hmm. They're obvious. And the Doncic thing is obvious to everybody except the people that made it. And the way it was done was even like
crazy.
Like, you can't shop for the best deal. You just decide he's going to Los Angeles, and what are we going to get here? Anthony Davis and a bag of balls? What are we doing here?
It is the curse of the superstar. You are always in search of the superstar and the player who will lead you to the championship. And then you get him. And what you have to do, you have to maximize his potential and maximize everything around the superstar all the time. And teams cross their fingers that they can get a Luka Doncic. And you got one. And he was 25. He wasn't 35. He was 25.
Right.
And you traded him. And I want to wrap up one final topic here with a few minutes to go. The Champions League quarterfinals is going on. The first couple matches were yesterday. And I'm an Arsenal fan. And I, of course, was watching the Arsenal-Real Madrid match. And Real Madrid, super team. Everyone knows them. They have Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., best players in the world.
Everybody loves Mbappe.
Everybody loves Mbappe.
Everybody. I talked to people in the station. They love Mbappe.
They love Mbappe. And Arsenal wins the match.
I'd like to point out our staff, 90% have no idea who he is.
No. And they won the match on the greatest 12-minute stretch for any player that has ever happened, ever, in Declan Rice. Declan Rice steps up, hits not one, but 2 free kicks into the top corner to win the match for Arsenal. And I'm going to show you it now, Steve, so you can enjoy along with me the true beauty of what happened. So we have goal number 1. Declan Rice hits it, bends it around the wall. Beautiful.
It looks like it's in the net.
It's a great goal. And then goal number 2, 12 minutes later, puts it into the top corner. Could not put it any further into the corner than he did.
That one also looks like it's in the net.
It is. It was the greatest, this is what I feel like I missed out on by not being in Happy Valley when Saquon was here. When he rips off 2 85-yard runs back to back. When you're like, this can't be real. Like what Eagles fans had this year, where he rips off the 85 and 65-yarders 2 straight plays. That was what happened for Arsenal yesterday. Is 59th minute, Declan Rice, free kick, crazy goal against one of the best keepers in the world. 12 minutes later, he can't do it again, surely. And it's even better. Saquon, 65-yard run, hurdles a guy. That's cool. 2 plays later, 85-yard run, hurdles 2 guys. You're like, I have never felt joy to the point where I have started crying before by watching a sports game since the Saints won the Super Bowl. I had it happen yesterday where I just broke. And I never thought I'd see the day, Steve. And I guess that's what happens when you have true joy in the form of a random 20-something-year-old Englishman in the name of Declan Rice, who's 26. He's a year and a half older than I am.
You cried?
I cried. You can ask Angela from 3WZ. I was a giddy schoolgirl yesterday because
you cried.
A 26-year-old from England brought me to literal tears.
You cried.
Watching a goal. The beautiful game, Steve.
You cried.
I did cry.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.